October 24th, 1944, 2 in the morning. The Formosa Strait, between Taiwan and mainland China. USS Tang, a Balau-class submarine, surfaces in the darkness. Commander Richard O'Kane stands on the bridge, scanning the horizon through his binoculars. He sees them: a Japanese convoy, 7 cargo ships, 3 escort destroyers. Tang has been hunting this convoy for 3 days. O'Kane has already sunk 2 cargo ships earlier tonight. He has 2 torpedoes left, 2 fish, 1 last attack. Then Tang will head home. O'Kane orders battle stations. The crew moves to their positions. They've done this dozens of times. Tang is the most successful submarine in the U.S. Navy. In 5 war patrols, she sunk 24 Japanese ships, more than any other American submarine. Tonight, she's about to make it 26. O'Kane lines up the shot. The convoy is 7,000 yards away. He fires torpedo number 23. It runs hot, straight, and normal. Bullseye. A cargo ship explodes. 1 torpedo left. O'Kane picks his final target, a transport loaded with Japanese troops. He fires torpedo number 24. The fish leaves the tube. The crew watches through the periscope. And then, something goes wrong. The torpedo breaks the surface. It turns. It's running in a circle, coming back toward Tang. O'Kane screams into the intercom, "All back, emergency, hard right rudder!" Too late. The torpedo slams into Tang's stern. The explosion tears the submarine apart. Tang sinks in 60 seconds. Of her crew of 87 men, only 9 survive. Commander O'Kane is one of them. This is the story of USS Tang, the deadliest submarine in American naval history, and the only U.S. sub sunk by its own torpedo.
Let's go back to the beginning. October 1943, Mare Island Naval Shipyard, California. USS Tang slides down the ways into the water. She's a Balau-class submarine, 311 feet long, 1,600 tons submerged, armed with 10 21-inch torpedo tubes, 6 forward, 4 aft. She carries 24 Mark 18 torpedoes. Her captain is Commander Richard O'Kane, 33 years old, Naval Academy class of 1934. Before Tang, O'Kane served as executive officer on USS Wahoo under the legendary Commander Dudley "Mush" Morton. Wahoo was one of the most aggressive submarines in the Pacific. Under Morton, Wahoo sank 20 Japanese ships in 5 patrols. O'Kane learned everything from Morton: aggressive tactics, surface attacks at night, close-range torpedo shots, no hesitation. When O'Kane took command of Tang, he brought that mentality with him. Tang's first war patrol began in January 1944. Her hunting ground, the East China Sea. The area was crawling with Japanese merchant ships carrying supplies to the home islands. O'Kane's orders were simple: sink everything. On January 24th, Tang made her first kill, a cargo ship carrying aviation fuel. O'Kane fired 3 torpedoes. All 3 hit. The ship exploded in a fireball visible for miles. Over the next 3 weeks, Tang sank 4 more ships: tankers, freighters, transports. By the time she returned to Pearl Harbor in March, Tang had sunk 5 ships totaling over 20,000 tons. The Navy took notice. This crew was good, but they were just getting started. Tang's second patrol was even better. April to June 1944. Hunting grounds, the coast of Japan. O'Kane took Tang into shallow water close to the Japanese coast. It was dangerous. If a Japanese destroyer spotted you in shallow water, you were dead. No room to dive deep, no room to maneuver. But shallow water was where the targets were. Japanese convoys hugged the coastline, thinking they were safe from submarines. O'Kane proved them wrong. On April 26th, Tang spotted a convoy off the coast of Kyushu. 4 cargo ships, 2 escorts. O'Kane surfaced at night and attacked. He fired 6 torpedoes. All 6 hit. 3 ships sank. 1 was left burning. The escorts never saw Tang. She disappeared into the darkness. Over the next 6 weeks, Tang sank another 6 ships. The crew was getting better with every patrol. Faster reloads, more accurate shots, better coordination. By the time Tang returned to Pearl Harbor in June, she'd sunk 11 ships total. Admiral Charles Lockwood, Commander Submarine Force Pacific, called O'Kane to his office. Lockwood said, "You're the best submarine captain in the fleet. Keep it up." O'Kane didn't need encouragement. He was already planning his next patrol. Tang's 3rd patrol, August to October 1944, was her most successful. Hunting grounds, the South China Sea and Formosa Strait. This was Japan's lifeline. Oil from the Dutch East Indies, rubber from Malaysia, rice from Indochina. All of it flowed through these waters. O'Kane was going to cut that lifeline. On the night of October 10, 1944, Tang hit the jackpot. A Japanese convoy, 10 ships, at least 5 destroyers as escorts. It was the largest convoy O'Kane had ever seen. And he attacked it, on the surface, at night, at close range. This is where O'Kane's tactics were different from most submarine captains. Most captains would fire torpedoes from long range, 2 to 3 miles, fire and dive, play it safe. O'Kane didn't believe in playing it safe. He believed in getting close, really close, inside 1,000 yards, half a mile. At that range, torpedoes didn't miss. But at that range, if the Japanese spotted you, their deck guns could tear you apart. O'Kane didn't care. He wanted kills. Over the next 3 hours, Tang attacked the convoy repeatedly. O'Kane would fire a spread of torpedoes, turn away, reload, and attack again. The Japanese escorts were panicking. They couldn't find Tang in the darkness. Their searchlights swept the water. Their sonar pinged uselessly. Tang was too fast, too maneuvering. By dawn, Tang had sunk 6 ships, transports, tankers, a destroyer. The convoy was shattered. Tang dove and slipped away. That night made Tang the most successful submarine in the U.S. Navy. 22 ships sunk, over 90,000 tons. No other American submarine had that record, and Tang wasn't done. 2 weeks later, October 24th, Tang found another convoy. This would be her last. Let's talk about the Mark 18 torpedo, because it's important to understand what happened to Tang. The Mark 18 was an electric torpedo. Unlike the older Mark 14, which ran on steam and left a visible wake, the Mark 18 was wakeless, silent, deadly. But it had problems. The guidance system was temperamental. If the gyroscope malfunctioned, the torpedo could run erratic. It could turn. It could circle back. The Navy knew about this problem, but they kept using the Mark 18 because it was effective, most of the time. On the night of October 24th, Tang fired 23 torpedoes. 22 ran perfectly. The 23rd hit a cargo ship. The 24th, the last torpedo in Tang's arsenal, malfunctioned. After leaving the tube, the torpedo's gyroscope failed. The torpedo turned hard left. It surfaced and it started running in a circle. On Tang's bridge, O'Kane saw it immediately. The torpedo's phosphorescent wake was visible in the moonlight, a bright line in the water, curving back toward Tang. O'Kane had maybe 20 seconds. He ordered full reverse, hard right rudder. Tang's engines roared. The submarine started to turn, but it wasn't enough. The torpedo hit Tang's stern at 20 knots. The warhead, 660 pounds of Torpex explosive, detonated on impact. The blast ripped through Tang's aft torpedo room and engine room. The stern compartments flooded instantly. 18 men died in the first 5 seconds. Tang's bow lifted out of the water. Then she went down, stern first. She sank in less than 1 minute. From a crew of 87 men, only 9 made it off the submarine before she went under. Commander O'Kane was one of the 9. He'd been on the bridge when the torpedo hit. The explosion threw him into the water. He surfaced, choking on seawater and fuel oil. Around him, other men were struggling in the darkness. O'Kane counted heads. 9 survivors, out of 87. The rest of the crew was still inside Tang, 180 feet below the surface. Some of them were still alive. In the forward torpedo room, 13 men had survived the explosion. They were trapped. The compartment was intact, but flooding slowly. They had maybe 12 hours of air. Lieutenant Lawrence Savatkin, the senior officer in the compartment, took charge. He ordered the men to put on moms and lungs, escape devices, primitive rebreathers that allowed a man to breathe while ascending from a sunken submarine. The Navy had trained every submariner how to use them, but no one had ever escaped from a depth greater than 100 feet. Tang was at 180 feet. Savatkin knew the odds, but he also knew they had no choice. Over the next 6 hours, the 13 men took turns attempting to escape. The procedure was brutal. Open the escape trunk, flood it with seawater, equalize pressure, open the hatch, swim up, fast. If you ascended too slowly, you'd run out of air. If you ascended too fast, the pressure change would kill you. Nitrogen bubbles in your blood, the bends. 8 men attempted the escape. 5 made it to the surface. 3 died on the way up. The remaining 5 men in the forward torpedo room chose not to try. They stayed inside Tang as the air ran out. They died together. Of the 9 men who made it off Tang before she sank, and the 5 who escaped from the forward torpedo room, only 9 survived the night. The other 5 drowned or died from hypothermia before dawn. At first light, a Japanese destroyer picked up the survivors. Commander O'Kane, 8 enlisted men. The Japanese took them prisoner. They were interrogated, beaten, held in POW camps in Japan for the rest of the war. O'Kane spent 10 months in captivity. He was tortured, starved. He weighed 90 pounds when American forces liberated the camp in August 1945. But he survived. When O'Kane returned to the United States, the Navy awarded him the Medal of Honor, not for surviving, but for Tang's combat record. In 5 war patrols, Tang had sunk 24 confirmed Japanese ships, over 100,000 tons, more than any other U.S. submarine. The citation read, in part, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as commanding officer of the USS Tang, Commander O'Kane exhibited extraordinary heroism throughout 5 successive war patrols, during which Tang sank 24 enemy ships and damaged an additional 6. O'Kane was the only submarine captain to receive the Medal of Honor for an entire series of patrols rather than a single action. The Navy recognized that Tang's success wasn't luck. It was leadership, tactics, discipline, and a crew that followed their captain into the most dangerous waters in the Pacific. Let's talk about what Tang accomplished. 24 ships sunk. That's more than any other American submarine in World War II. But the number doesn't tell the whole story. Tang sank critical targets, tankers carrying oil to Japan, transports carrying troops, freighters carrying raw materials. Every ship Tang sank was a ship that didn't reach Japan. Every ton of cargo on the ocean floor was a ton Japan couldn't use to build planes, tanks, or ships. By 1944, Japan's merchant fleet was being destroyed. American submarines were sinking ships faster than Japan could build them. In 1944 alone, U.S. submarines sank over 600 Japanese merchant ships. That's more than 2 million tons of shipping. Japan's economy was collapsing. Their factories couldn't get raw materials. Their military couldn't get fuel. Their cities couldn't get food. Tang was part of that effort, and she was one of the best. But Tang's loss was a reminder of the cost. 52 American submarines were lost during World War II. Over 3,600 men killed. That's the highest casualty rate of any branch of the U.S. military. 22% of submariners who went to war didn't come home. But the men who served on submarines knew the risks. They volunteered. They trained and they fought one of the most dangerous wars in the Pacific, silent, underwater, alone. After the war, Allied interrogators questioned Japanese naval officers about American submarines. One officer, convoy escort commander, said, "We feared American submarines more than we feared American aircraft. Aircraft attacked during the day. We could see them. We could shoot at them. Submarines attacked at night. We couldn't see them. We couldn't find them. By the time we knew they were there, our ships were already sinking." Another officer, Captain Atsushi Oi, wrote in his post-war memoir, "The American submarine force destroyed Japan's ability to wage war. They cut our supply lines. They sank our tankers. They made it impossible to transport oil from the south. Without oil, our navy could not operate. Without raw materials, our factories could not produce. The submarines won the war in the Pacific." That's enemy testimony. The Japanese themselves admitted that American submarines were decisive, and Tang was the best of them. In the submarine community, Tang is legendary, not just because of her record, but because of how she fought. Aggressive, fearless, close-range attacks, surface engagements. O'Kane's tactics were studied by every submarine captain who came after him. In 1990, the Navy commissioned a new Los Angeles-class submarine, her name USS Asheville, but her unofficial nickname among the crew, Tang too. They wanted to honor the legacy. Let's talk about the survivors. Of the 9 men who survived Tang's sinking, all of them returned to the United States after the war. Commander O'Kane stayed in the Navy. He served in various posts, teaching submarine tactics and strategy. He retired as a Rear Admiral in 1957. He spent the rest of his life advocating for submariners, attending reunions, telling Tang's story. O'Kane died in 1994 at the age of 83. At his funeral, 8 of Tang's survivors attended. They were all in their 70s. They hadn't served together in 50 years, but they remembered. One of the survivors, Floyd Caverly, said, "Tang was the best boat in the Navy, and O'Kane was the best captain. We'd have followed him anywhere, even if we'd known how it would end." Another survivor, Clay Decker, said, "People ask me if I regret serving on Tang. I tell them no. We did something that mattered. We sank 24 enemy ships. We helped win the war, and we proved that American submariners were the best in the world." That's the submariner mentality. Pride, duty, brotherhood, even in the face of loss. Here's the final truth. USS Tang was lost because of a defective torpedo, a mechanical failure, bad luck. But her legacy isn't the torpedo that sank her. Her legacy is the 24 ships she destroyed, the convoy she disrupted, the supply line she cut. Tang's war patrols shortened the Pacific War. How much? Impossible to say. But every ship Tang sank was a ship that didn't reach Japan. Every ton of oil on the ocean floor was a ton Japan couldn't use to fuel their planes and ships. The submarine war in the Pacific was a war of attrition, slow, grinding, invisible, but it worked. By 1945, Japan's merchant fleet was gone, their economy was crippled, their military was starving for fuel and supplies. American submarines did that, and Tang was at the front of that effort. Commander O'Kane once said, "Submarines don't win wars, but they make it possible for others to win wars. We cut the enemy's lifelines. We forced them to divert resources to defend convoys. We made them afraid to leave port. That's our job." Tang did that job better than any other submarine in the war, and 78 men died doing it. Remember them. Remember Tang, the deadliest submarine in American history, and the crew that refused to back down.